The information provided by the speakers and/or presenter on Facebook and YouTube is for general informational purposes only. All information is provided in good faith. However, Constructive Talk makes no representation or warranty of any kind, express or implied, regarding the accuracy, adequacy, validity, reliability, availability, or completeness of this information. The information provided by the speakers and/or presenter on Facebook and YouTube is for general informational purposes only. All information is provided in good faith. However, Constructive Talk makes no representation or warranty of any kind, express or implied, regarding the accuracy, adequacy, validity, reliability, availability, or completeness of this information. The information provided by the speakers and/or presenter on Facebook and YouTube is for general informational purposes only. All information is provided in good faith. However, Constructive Talk makes no representation or warranty of any kind, express or implied, regarding the accuracy, adequacy, validity, reliability, availability, or completeness of this information.
Worried and I'm feeling the pain. My faith's been tested time and time again. Oh, but my spirit is determined to believe and to overcome life trials that seem to never done. But still, I kneel before you with a praying song. Lord, I come to pray for the strength and the faith that's required. Amen. I pray for my people to not lose their fire. Amen. Sending prayers for those who suffering in silence. Amen. Grant them wisdom, cures, clarity and guidance. Amen. I pray for the young and I pray for the old. Cover their minds, Lord, don't let them lose control. Though we stand in sin, no transgressions are many. Thank God for the life that He gave me. To all you who doubting and losing faith, time to congregate and no time to separate. I'm calling on the prayer warriors in the country. Come for Trinidad, need we, cause I say Trinidad need a blessing. Tobago need a blessing. Tobago need a blessing. Amen. Trinidad need a blessing. Tobago need a blessing. Tobago need a blessing. Amen. Life is getting harder to manage. Oh yeah. The plan you had for us, it's vanishing. Cause the violence, Lord, the nation in distress. What's it gonna take? We need a rest. It's time that we repent and we confess. Cause Lord, I'm tired of the bloodshed, it rising in numbers. Amen. I'm tired see the youth choose the path of plunder. Amen. Can't walk the street in peace is a problem. Father, intervene, please save your children. Amen. I pray for them gangs, them surrender your soul. You're not fully guns, but you're fully in control. To change up your mindset and clean up your community. Thank God for the life that He gave we. To all you who doubting and losing faith, time to congregate and no time to separate. I'm calling all the prayer warriors in the country. Come for Trinidad, need we, cause I say a blessing. Tobago need a blessing. Trinidad need a blessing. Amen. Deception is spreading, it's trending. Oh yeah. Greed and lies has surely shake we faith. Hearts gone cold, the wicked quoting well. Doubt in a place where hope should dwell. We all have to answer to you, so knees go bend. In the end, Lord, I'm praying for the leaders to lead with integrity. Amen. So my people could thrive and provide for the family. Amen. I really fed up on the racism, hate the division. Amen. We all have history here, don't matter your religion. I'm praying for all them false prophets that mislead your flock. Lord, open the eyes of the sheep that they mock. I pray in your strength and we in solidarity. Thank God for the life that He gave me. So all you who doubting and losing faith, time to congregate and no time to separate. I'm calling all the prayer warriors in the country. Come forth, Trinidad need we, cause I say Trinidad need a blessing. Tobago need a blessing. Tobago need a blessing. Amen. Trinidad need a blessing. Tobago need a blessing. Tobago need a blessing. Amen. With you we walking through the fire. Amen. To make it we must stand together. Amen. To build safer communities. Amen. Enjoy the life that you give away. You are a feeling to behold. Amen. Guide all straying souls. Amen. Who God bless, no man curse. Speak it in the universe. I say, God bless protection around way. Amen. So the devil.
Well, good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Good evening to those of you who are locked on wherever in the world you are locked on to Constructive Talk. It's a pleasure to be with you all this evening. And as I promised you this evening, I am going to have a guest with me. And this evening, guest is going to be joining me in a little bit. Alright, so I believe I have my guest on with me. Hello, good evening, Commander Dindial.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir. And good evening to your listening audience.
Alright, so you heard him live and alive. Commander Dindial is on with me this evening. And he is on to discuss some burning matters and some issues that I think Trinidad and Tobago, you know, I don't know, Commander Dindial. I don't know if it's just me or is it that Trinidad and Tobago is the country appears to be kind of docile. I don't know, you tell me. I find like, it's like if the people of Trinidad and Tobago are really, it appears to me, I could be wrong, I could be wrong. But it appears as though people in Trinidad and Tobago isn't really so much concerned about what is going on in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know. As I said, I could be wrong. But I just find that there is this level of complacency. That's the word I'm looking for. I don't know if you pick it up also.
Well, you put me back there, put me back to thinking. You said complacency, but I don't think so much complacency as we have been conditioned. We have been, if this is a long form of conditioning where we are now, as I say, we are now insensitive. We are desensitized to things that are going on.
Yes. Why you think that is so?
In my last post, I looked at some of the things that are happening internationally, well, regionally. Let's say regionally, what went on regionally with our Prime Minister's speech at the opening of Carrick. And I know we were going to get to that at some point in time. But I had to ask myself, when I was in the Twilight Zone, I couldn't believe I'd be looking at that. So I was in shock. So I think a lot of Trinidad and Tobago is in shock also of what is going on, because it is the sense of disbelief that this can be playing out in the international forum. In the regional forum, these are the kind of things that we have our Prime Minister positioning the Trinidad and Tobago government and the people in this light, where we are fragmented from CARICOM. We are not supporting stability in the region, and us being together, we are fracturing it. We are supporting the Trump regime, and we are supporting the U.S. political policy and foreign policy as it stands right now in the global dynamics. And we're seeing how this regime is saying. We're looking and seeing what is happening with the U.S. and the people that are supporting the U.S. are not the ones that you want to really align yourself with at this particular point in time. So I think the Trinidadians and the world itself, I can't really say Trinidadians they're alone, because when we see the things going on in the world and we expand it, we talk about the Epstein files.
Yeah.
We're seeing that there's want to go inside Iran and openly saying that they want to go and remove Iran. No, and 6 months ago, you fired on Iran with your bunker, your bunker busters, your missiles, and you told the world that you got their nuclear program, and you shut it down. And then 6 months right after, you come and say, well, no, we have to go into Iran because they get back their nuclear program. So who was lying? So, the world is in a kind of way that some people are lying here. What really happening? And then with the Epstein files, you're hearing these kind of outrageous things coming out that are putting us in a position where you rely on you rock back and say, people are the theologians and the religious people are saying, listen, the world is in a place where we are seeing doom and gloom, rumors of war, and the sorts of demons are loosed on the world. So, you think yourself, listen, you have to be in a twilight zone, and you get desensitized. Something mad, something really wrong. Something wrong. Even this evening in Trinidad and Tobago, I don't know if you have your listeners from the UK here with us tonight.
Yes, they are.
Well, I don't know if you inform them. Marijuana went missing from the Central Police Station.
Yes, marijuana.
and that was held in the big drug bus where they say, okay, here's what, and now big hullabaloo and marijuana, we get so much $1 million in marijuana, and it's stored in the police station and it's gone missing. So you really have to believe it.
So that's why I'm saying Commander Dindial. No, I had my father on last night. All right. Now my father, he's an attorney at law. He well respected attorney. And we were talking last night, and I told my dad last night, and to some of the listeners, I don't think they believe when I told them, I said, I don't believe them drug busters, and it was totally true. I believe some of them drug busters be set up.
Well, you would hear, and I have to be very careful, see how these things are. The allegations are that individuals, high individuals, or higher, know where all the drugs were before, and they are against different factions that are competing with them. So the allegations go. We have people who are we have a minister of the police, right? It's not the police service, it's the police, and this minister is police.
Go ahead.
If you look at his track record and where he come from, the allegations, they are huge allegations. So you know what we are saying, and people are saying that even when we look at this the murder by the police service that took place with Kia and Mr. Samaru, where the guy's hands was obviously up in the air.
Yes.
And you could see the lack of training and everything. There are allegations there that was that there in essence when and Ian Allen is bringing it up also, that the history behind it, that it was a hit, and it was a hit put out by the various aspects of law enforcement. If you read the stories on Facebook where the family came out and said who they met before and they were trying to set him up and all that kind of thing. So it puts you to wonder who really to believe. That's why the confidence in the police services are at an all-time low. So you're starting from there, you're coming through this whole thing. And even so today, there's another allegation. Well, not allegation. The police officers were held for fraudulent documents for the guns that they found. That's another wicked story. So you have all these things are happening right now. So you telling me that these things are happening in Trinidad and Tobago, and you have a minister in Parliament telling everybody, if the Zozo bill was passed, it would stop all of that. I mean, come on, man. So you see, I go back again. We desensitize. We in the twilight zone.
Wow.
It ain't making sense. It's not making sense. So I think people are sitting there and looking at internalizing and asking themselves, where are we living? What really going on? And I don't like people to say, no, Trinidad is a banana republic, or Trinidad is not a real place. But I live in a real place. You live in a real place. We know it. This cannot continue. It's happening all around us. And you're right. But, I will say something to you, that it came back from the last administration, and a minister said that, the people of Trinidad and Tobago ain't riot yet. They ain't riot yet. And those were things that were because of fiscal policies and stuff, right? But where we are headed to right now, we are breaking the camel's back, And I don't want us to really reach out this. I really don't want us to reach out there where the people of Trinidad and Tobago have to riot. I can't see that happening. We have to try our best to settle everything peacefully and democratically. That we can make sure that people of Trinidad and Tobago don't riot it, and we are not left stupefied and numb struck of what is taking place around us.
You would have done some videos on and you would have expressed it. But first of all, before we reach there, what is your view, Commander Dindial, on this Punisher logo character that is worn on the sleeve of the Commissioner of Police?
Well, you remember, anything that happens in an organization, the team of the organization is set by the top, the leader of the organization. So I think I mentioned that already before. If you are the leader of an organization and you come late to work, people will come late to work. If you're lackadaisical, you will see lackadaisicalism, because the team is set by you. So this Punisher logo, it is not part of the police uniform, It is not part of the police uniform, but by you wearing that, you are sending a message down the line. And believe me, not only the police officers are seeing it, you have the people in the streets, the citizens seeing this message that you are sending. You are sending this Punisher message that here's what you want to be, this law enforcement person that doesn't follow the law. That's what the law did. That is what a vigilante is. Vigilante justice. So when you're telling me and you set that tone for vigilante justice, what do you expect your officers to do when your officers are following a criminal or following a perpetrator or someone suspected of a crime, and they give up and they put their hands up in the air and they surrender? The vigilante thing goes through their system and they see it, and they will follow that, and they will because the head is supporting it. So it makes no mistake. That is why you would get the police officers, even it wasn't a hit, and the police officers not trained. They see someone surrendering, Punisher attitude come in your mind, and they will execute the individuals even so they surrender. So these are subliminal messages that are being passed down to the whole organization. So you have your minister now brushing this off, a Punisher logo. Don't worry about that. That is nothing. So I suppose he should put on if he put on a Powerpuff logo, what I would say, or a peace sign, or a rainbow.
Yeah, because every one of those symbols have a meaning.
Correct.
And biblically, and biblically, when you see the rainbow, it means that God says that there's a covenant He made with the earth, that he would not flood the earth again. So if you see the rainbow, as somebody who believes in the Bible will say, all of the rainbow, and when you read up the Bible, it says that the rainbow means that God is not going to flood the earth again. So that's what you understand that symbol to mean. Just like a Muslim knows that when he see the crescent moon and a star, it means that Ramadan, X, Y, and Z. Every symbol have its meaning.
Correct, sir. They are attributed to something. Even and it is visual. Wearing the Trinidad and Tobago flag, your flags mean something. Remember, you learn about what red, white, and black means. You know about that. So when you see those symbols, the symbols mean something. And you find yourself, people in the military, you will get someone to lay their life down for a flag and a ribbon than a cause.
Wow.
You give them something to believe in. You give them something, but they believe in something that they can see. You see, the cause is in the mind. You have to develop that and attach the cause and make it a nexus to the symbol, so the symbol means the cause. But it have people who don't even understand what the cause is, but they see the symbol, they get attracted and addicted, and they will do things for that particular thing. So it is not a thing that I think a minister should just bypass. That you head of your department, you head of your law enforcement agency, when it punishes symbol on the police uniform, and the police uniform, as you said, it is a uniform that has been given authority, and there's a regulations. The uniform has a regulation and dress regs, how it's supposed to be worn and what's supposed to be placed on it. Different units, yes, have different patches that they will allow them to wear, but I don't know what patch, nobody knows what patch this Punisher patch is about. And they're not coming out and saying anything about it. You see, they're dancing around it also, because they know it hasn't been authorized by any group or any subgroup within the police service. Because if it was, they would come out and say, well, this Punisher group, this Punisher symbols, we have authorized this symbol for this special operational group to do that, and the symbol means this, But when you're making it up as you go along, anything goes.
Wow. So I just said I wanted to ask you, what was your view on this Punisher symbol that is being worn by our Commissioner of Police? I think that he is supposed to, the Police Service Commissioners is supposed to come out and give a statement on it, because I know that Mr. Abdullah had threatened to take the state to court if he continues to wear that Punisher symbol.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I noticed he removed it.
Yeah, he removed it. And a reporter, my dad was telling me about it yesterday. My dad said to me, he removed it, and the reporter asked him, why did you remove it? And he had a mouthful to tell the reporter.
But he didn't answer why he actually removed it, did he?
No, he did not. He did not tell him why he removed it. And that is what people want to know, why he had it all in the first place.
Because he was telegraphing, he wanted to telegraph that vigilante thing. Everybody, he wants to be Batman, but not everybody could be Batman. You can't be Batman, you are a commissioner of police. Jim Gordon and Batman is two different people. You would have things to do. You have to understand your role and your functions. And I don't think he clearly understands his role and functions as it comes to being the leader of the police service in Trinidad and Tobago. And that was clearly articulated when you saw him defending his officers. There's nothing wrong with defending your officers, but he defended the officers before the facts even came out, or with the shooting of those individuals that surrender, that clearly surrender. And you see, so he doesn't understand the rules there. You administrative process. You are for this whole agency, the Trinidad and Tobago Police, which is supposed to be independent. And And that conversation we're talking about, supposed to be independent, dovetails into what was said by our Prime Minister at the opening ceremony of CARICOM by saying that Mr. Thomas was kidnapped. There's a whole process, because if you go in for a individual or one of your citizens, people have articulated, one of your citizens that is wanted by arrest warrant in your country, there are certain things that you have to go through. If they're residing in another country, you have to first find out if they have an extradition treaty, all those other things. You have to, so there's a lot of paperwork that has to go there. But before you even reach there, who has, and you could ask your dad, and I'm not a lawyer, but you have to have reasonable evidence here in Trinidad and Tobago, right? And you had to have a warrant first. But somebody had to give the instructions in Trinidad before the people even go to look for extradition and all those things. And where does that reside? In the police department. Who charges it? Who does? No, they will tell you that the DPP office have to give it a layer charge, right?
Yes.
Right. But they have to have the evidence and put it across the DPP office. But inside the police service, they are the ones who will tell you that they are the ones who say, listen, we have enough information and I would like to get a warrant of arrest. And send the file forward. And then they'll get the instructions. So we are focusing on that. We're not focusing on where it is. But so if it is, you have to answer this question. But everybody hiding, everybody black. But we know where squarely where the responsibility would have lied. This responsibility lies squarely on the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. That is where the responsibility lies for that whole debacle. Now everything other than that moved out. The requests for the aircraft and the requests to go, we know definitely that senior officials would have to be involved, but they would have given the request. Remember, given the request that was presented before them, that is what they would have used the documentation. It's like I come into you, you come to the judge and the magistrate, and you tell them, this is the evidence I have, so and so and so. I need to get a warrant to search this premises, and the magistrate. So what you tell the magistrate that, then the magistrate will issue the warrant, right? Given the request.
Right.
Right. So when they keep passing the buck, but the person who did the responsibility, where the responsibility lies, is the person there. That's where the responsibility lies. So when they try to shift and say, well, other people were new, yes, the whole command chain knew, and yes, Trinidad and Tobago went on. And Barbados has settled out of court, right? Because they recognize that the request that they got wasn't an extradition, a request for somebody to be extradited out of the country. It wasn't that request, so they settled out of court. So we don't know what was the settlement, how much they settled for, or what. But they recognize that whatever information was presented to them, they didn't have the correct information. But Barbados will not operate on a like, we say on a VAP, so somebody just pick up the phone and say we coming across, and those are plenty things that you have, the international things. The ministers have to know foreign affairs, the policy. You can't leave, and you really can't leave the country if a serving member of any of the forces want to leave the country to play a football game. They have to get permission, because it have all the other things that goes with it. So people are aware, but the responsibility and the authority really comes from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And that will tell you how important that office is, and how important it is for the Commissioner of Police to be independent. Independent, you know what I'm saying? We have to maintain that independence of the Commissioner of Police must be maintained. It cannot be seen that the Commissioner of Police is being given directives by political entities to do things against other individuals. It's important to maintain that, and if we have a Commissioner of Police who doesn't understand this and that he needs to remain independent, his actions need to be truthful and abiding by the law. And he have to recognize also that he's the head of the institution, and the things that he does telegraphs down through the institution and telegraph horizontally, laterally throughout society. Because society looking at them. This is where, safety and security is the foremost thing that we want here in order to live and survive in Trinidad and Tobago.
But Commander Dindial, my observation of this Commissioner of Police, he does not appear and sound like someone independent. Why I say that? I want you to listen to why I don't accept the fact and believe that he's independent. When the state of emergency was called, he did not wait for the Attorney General and the Minister of Homeland Security to announce it. He came out and said that he made recommendation to the government to call a state of emergency, and he is standing as commissioner announcing a state of emergency, SOE, right? No, I had a problem with that. Right? The second one I had a problem with was when he was being interviewed by a reporter or by a talk show host and a morning show host, and he morning show host asked him, what is your view about this stand your ground laws and people being able to get fired? And he said, I agree with the government on their stand their ground laws. I said, what? How can you as a commissioner, you're supposed to say, well, they are the legislators, they are the lawmakers, and whatever they agree on, I will have to put things in place to ensure that it work. You didn't say nothing like that. He says, I agree with stand your ground laws. Now, I was like, how? Why? Right? The third thing was, well, this radar thing threw me off. And he is there talking about the benefits of the radar because the American government. What?
So you would say everything you have said so far has just reinforced my point that I was saying, that you have to know your job, and you are the leader. So if you do not know what you're doing, you see, so you put on the Punisher logo and you don't know what you're doing. You have to know your job. So being the leader of the organization is not the best fit. You are the leader of the organization, but you don't know your job. You're not fit for the role. So you telling the country that the state of emergency, you don't recognize that is not, you don't have the authority to declare a state of emergency or even mention it. The declaration of a state of emergency comes from the president, and the president will either declare it or give it to the prime minister to declare down from the line. That's the office. You enforce, as you quite rightfully said, you enforce the laws by the legislature. So if the legislature says something, you have to enforce it. And laws sometimes are not construed perfectly. But if it is in the law books and you have to enforce the law, you have to enforce the law as it is, because you're enforcing the law of the land. The magistracy will deal with if there are any things that are not aligning. So you can always have recourse and redress there. But you're quite right. So you see, the first thing you said there, the second thing there, what you do, those examples is showing that he doesn't have the capacity of being that leader, that independent leader that you're supposed to be there. And then the third part, the third part, it was just a rambling of things that he doesn't know about, and just spoke off the top of his head, trying to justify a political stance at the point in time. So I agree with you, sir. And it strengthens what we're saying, because you have just pointed out three very, very good examples.
And I think that those are things that persons need to continue to keep their eyes on. Keep your eye on the Commissioner of Police and decisions that he's making. I just want to run back to something you spoke on earlier on, before we get into what you were saying and how you felt about this matter concerning Commander Dindial. What is really going on in the police service of Trinidad and Tobago? You telling me people made, and I just want to throw your mind back to when at the St. Joseph police station, when the police officers said to Trinidad and Tobago with a straight face that rat ate the cocaine. Rat came down from the roof and ate up the cocaine. And they told us that with a straight face. The investigations died. I was a young man when the investigation was going. Commander Dindial, I went to my age. But I passed the middle mark. I passed the middle threshold. Right? And we hear nothing about that cocaine and St. Joseph. St. Joseph get a brand new, spanking new police station. And that cocaine story dead. Shokona's police station tonight. We hearing a story about marijuana. And what do we replace it with?
You say a block of wood.
A block of wood. Marijuana gone missing. And you know what I would say? Where are the voices? There are some specific voices that open up and talk about justice and about the police service and about things that need to be addressed. You're not hearing anything, Commander Dindial.
Correct. So that's why Hello?
Yes, I hear you know.
Yeah. So you're correct. You're correct there on we're not hearing anything from the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and I said it's going to happen. We are in that mood where we are. You're stewing in the pot. You're stewing in the pot. The pressure cooker. Right now, you're hearing the valve releasing a and you're hearing the descent also from inside internally. But let's hope that the pressure cooker don't blow up, that the gas keeps releasing little by little. But let me deal with something first that you mentioned about the cocaine, the rats in the station. Now, you know I like to deal with facts, right? And I deal with things truthful and simple, right?
Right.
So and I like to hold on. Now, I myself, when I first entered into the field of drug enforcement and doing counter narcotics operations, I will inform you. I found it interesting. Cocaine is a very addictive substance, and that's not. No. But when storing cocaine for evidential treatment, it's the rooms and stuff that you're storing cocaine for. It must be properly sealed. Properly sealed, right? Where rats and things can't get into it. Now, we don't have. So you come down to a kind of root cause analysis. We don't have proper storage of evidence in Trinidad and Tobago. One, right? So evidence. Where's our evidence room? Where the evidence is kept. You hear the story about the cocaine, but there's stories of also where firearms have been used as in evidence, and the firearms were missing. People taking the evidence and renting it out to their partners or friends to go and do robberies and bringing it back. So the evidential rooms and the evidential storage, you have evidence to go before a case, and when you're looking for the evidence of the case, it's not there, just like the cocaine. Now, I could give you the example with the rats. If rats do in fact get into cocaine, the whole hive, they become very addicted. And I don't know if you saw this movie, Cocaine Bear.
No, I never saw that movie.
Yeah, that's one movie that made Cocaine Bear when the bear was on cocaine. But when the rats get addicted, but it's the whole family, they will eat it, they will devour it out, I'm telling you. But there will be evidence, you will be seeing remnants of where they tear open the packages, you will see where they rip open the holes and where they and you see where the nest is. You would see the nest, and it is not one. It is be 100 or 400. There's plenty of them. So I know it can happen. So but there's evidence to show where it happened. You will see the holes and they will bore the ground, and the underneath of the storage room and will be probably filled with rats. So when you burst the flooring, you will see hundreds. You see, like when you see in the movies, rats running across all over the place. It's be like that. It's be like that inside you. So I can say that there is some truth and evidence that wet rats do become addicted to cocaine itself, and you have a whole family. And I said it's not a small family; it's a big family, and you will hear the noises and that kind of thing. So the statement they're making, whether it was truthful when they investigated, I can't comment on that. But I know there's a possibility that it can happen, right? So I just had to say that, so that, because people, and I myself, I found it when I was like, I didn't believe it in the first instance until I really saw it for myself and recognized that, that is that. So it's just, to let people know that, it's not a myth. It can really happen. So, but in the scale, there will be evidence to show. And I don't know if they did show that evidence, because you would find the house and you would have to kill the rats at them after, because they will multiply like, is rats on cocaine. Is rats on cocaine. So the story sounds, like a fairy tale or really ludicrous, but it's one of those things that, you're like, wow, it's amazing. One of those amazing tales that you tell. So, that can happen. Right. With that. That kind of thing. Okay. But as I said, the evidence Go ahead. Right. So that kind of like tells you about. And then the next thing you were saying again, remind me because we went on the rats.
No, it was the rats. Was the cocaine and but I was saying that now we have this incident now where marijuana is missing in a whole police station. Look, listen, man. This is too much for a little country, Come on, Dindial.
Well, this one I don't know about rats liking marijuana. I don't think they like marijuana so much. But the thing about this one, they brought the marijuana there 4 days ago, and stored it. It's in Cuba. They found that that's what it is. So it have a long time, but this is the problem. So you're looking at evidence, right? Where the evidence was stored, who's the evidence room keeper? Is the evidence being stored in a room where you have cameras? So you talk about the one with the cocaine way back in there. If they had cameras in the evidence room, and they would have seen the rats eating the cocaine.
Of course.
Right. So why they don't want no cameras in the evidence room? And if you know this is evidence for cases, and you know where's your SOPs to check on the cameras? Check on the cameras and do these things and make sure the cameras are working. If the cameras are not working, you fix them quickly. So let's see. We're waiting to hear what the minister is going to have to say. The minister of police. Well, I could give you something you're going to say. I can tell you. I will tell you he's going to say, well, a block of weed, it will be replaced by a block of wood. And they're the same block.
Say that again. Come on, Dindial. Say that one more time. No, say it one more time. No, honestly, say it one more time. Say it one more time in Trinidad and Tobago. If a block of weed.
If a block of weed is replaced by a block of wood, it is the same block.
Yeah, boy. I can see him saying nothing true, no.
Oh yes, but we wait. The jokes are for us, and we wait to see what they're going to say. Whether it was secured, who has the key? Because if you're replacing it with actually a block of wood, and somebody have to have an entry and exit log. The keys have to be open. Somebody where the keys will stay. The key has to stay in a book. So definitely they have to find out where it is. They can't say that, well, the next thing they might tell you, when they weigh it out, the drug traffickers was trying to fool the smugglers, and they actually put a block of wood. But that wouldn't hold water, because every single bale they had to cut it open to check everyone when they. So you see, it's difficult And we have where it is now that it leaves us for trust in the police service. You know, we go back to the old adage which Trinidad and Tobago, they'll say, you know, who got any gun? Who got any gun?
This is crazy, Commander Dindial. This is crazy. You know what I mean? And I think that I think they need to close that police station now. Close down that police station, reassign those officers until that matter is cleared up. I don't know if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, but I think that is the only way to build back confidence in the police service in that particular district.
Well, you see, we don't have it in statute or in law where they is mandatory lie detector tests, but they have lie detector tests that they can do the polygraph. They have two tests in Trinidad and Tobago that's really available. They still have the polygraph and they have the voice stress analysis test, which are all located in certain agencies that I wouldn't call right away, but we have agencies that have that capability. So the first one, the voice stress analysis test, they could actually employ that almost immediately. What I can't say, or I don't know, is if how you can make it mandatory for them to attend the test. You know, that they have to do it.
That's really interesting.
But those things are available. So look, I will tell you something. And when I was in the defense force and I was working on some of these operations and stuff, and we had maximum security prisons, I've sat down on so many chairs where we're talking about cell phone jammers and for hits not to be coming from inside the prison. And, you know, okay, here's what, you know, jam. So even so they could vote as many cell phones as they like. It doesn't matter. But if you have the cell phone jammers around, you will not be able to make a call. The call will not come out, right? You know what was told? I even told that what was told to me. You know, Commander, we have to leave the phones to go because we are monitoring these calls, and we're monitoring the calls to find out who they're calling out. But up to now, I haven't seen any actionable intelligence that they have found anything or stopped any hit from inside the maximum security prison with these cell phones. Now, there's another way of doing it also. You know, look at modern day prisons. You have the models where people are allowed to call. You have the phones where they are allowed to call outside and call their families to. And these phones they know it's monitored, so they will use codes and stuff. But that's where your intelligence and analysts comes up. You know, so they will understand if these people saying, you know, they have a code word, you know, bring two doubles, so what that means after a certain amount of time. But I don't know what the analysts do. I can't say. I can't tell you. I'm flabbergasted with it.
So you don't think that closing down the station in that district and reassigning the officers and finding another way of servicing the community might just work?
But they didn't want to use body camera. If you remember them association too, you know.
Oh yeah, that's true, eh? That's true. That is very, very true. That is very, very true.
So what may have to happen? They may, as you said, it on lockdown. They may have to have suspension with pay until the investigation is. But you have to have somebody who's actively involved and has the willpower to go and do the administrative work and do the investigation. Well, they said the standard bureau is there going to do it. So let's see what happens or what the public waits to find out.
Yeah, well, we have to keep just like how a lot of us are keeping our eyes on the investigation with Joshua. We're not hearing anything, eh? We are not hearing anything about Joshua Samaru and the situation with his demise. We're not hearing a word from the authorities about that. So we have two things now to keep our eyes on: a brick of wood that replaced marijuana and the death of Joshua Samaru. How much things you can keep your eye on?
But you know something, you're saying that it's quite significant. If you have 2 blocks of wood replaced there, anybody went and checked the rest of marijuana that they found in the last couple of weeks But what the big drug boss that they say the radar fine? Anybody want to check on that? Where that's stored? Is it still there? I would have come out for me if I was the commissioner of police, I would have come out and said an investigation is taking place immediately, and all our inventory where we have all the evidence stored for all the we are checking them over right away to make sure that none of it has gone missing or anything like that. And checking and double checking. So you building confidence in the public, so that the public know, listen, this is what we're doing, and we are wetting our houses while fire is burning, because you have to out the fire. You have to build back confidence, and this is what you don't defend them blindly. And I hear you. So some sort of administrative disciplinary action has to be taken immediately. While the evidence comes out, we put them on suspension with pay. We move them from the duty where they are and carry things as the things come out. And then where the chips fall, once you find the guilty people, because somebody is guilty, somebody did something wrong. We can't say how you going to hide this and say nobody did? Now tell me something. If you can find the culprits in a police station that stole evidence, which is narcotics and contraband, in a secured location, you could solve any crime. You could solve any murder.
Commander Dindial, we open up a Pandora's box here, because this is very concerning, and a lot of persons are now wondering where we going as a nation. Where are we going as a nation where this is concerned?
I wanted to keep that point in mind, and this is where I want to go with this. So for the listening public to understand, we are saying that Trinidad and Tobago, you hear the Minister of Police come out and say that Trinidad and Tobago need help. You hear the Prime Minister come out and say that Trinidad and Tobago need help. But here is where they're telling you want help. They want help by the military. They say the military, U.S. military, to come in and help you. And U.S. military is not a law enforcement agency. U.S. military, you know what the U.S. military doing? Trump just showed you, they're blowing up drug boats. They're killing people outside extrajudicially. They're murdering people without gathering any evidence. That's what the military does. Look what we have just identified, what we can't even find here in Trinidad. There's no evidence. People don't know about gathering evidence, solving crime, solving murders. The military doesn't do those things. You have agencies. Now, if you want to bring in agencies from the US to help with those things, I welcome it. And if you want to bring in agencies from the UK, because you don't really have to just go to the US. But we understand that the current Prime Minister, yes, well, she's aligned to the US, and she loves the US. So fine, you don't want to go with Scotland Yard or any of these other agencies in the UK that can help, or even the French, the gendarmerie and French forces or Dutch forces. You want to go to the US. Fine. But you have the DEA, you have the FBI, you have the alcohol and tobacco agencies. You have law enforcement agencies that will help you do law enforcement things.
Right.
And help you gather evidence, help you look for the gangs, help you solve murders. These are the CSIs. Those are the institutions that you would want to bring in, that you would think that you would want to bring in to help bolster your national security framework as where it lies, and help in the deficiencies that we have. Not the military. The military don't train in those things. You think the military? So who in the US military or the US forces that they have here with the radar are going to help you find the 2 blocks of marijuana that went missing and was replaced by wood? The radar doing that?
Wow.
Wow. But the radar doing that? So when we're framing things and you're saying you want the military, we don't need the US military. You don't need militarization. Right? You need help with your police service. That's what you need help with. And I would have thought that you would have leaned towards where our political system is framed, and where our jurisprudence is free, which is the Westminster system. So you look at Scotland Yard, you think Scotland Yard is the place to go because those are the laws we follow. The laws, our laws, our highest court is where the Privy Council. That's where it's all adjudicated. So you would have thought that you would have brought these people inside because that's the sort of evidence I think that's required. But we want to go with the US. That's fine. But I'm saying to you and I'm saying to the public, not the military. I'm a military person. And I can tell you, military is not trained in evidence gathering. We don't gather evidence. We are hard hitters.
Wow.
And the Zoso bill wasn't going to help this at all. How the Zoso bill going? The Zoso bill, if you can't do it in normal peacetime, you can't do it normally. Normal policing job, normal policing work. How the Zoso is going to help you? All the Zoso does is allow you to go and search without a warrant, and a curfew. So it is a mini state of emergency in a geographical zone. That's what that Zozo is about. Because you have shown that you can't do anything without a state of emergency. You don't know normal policing. So the police service has failed, and the police requires as much help as it is, but not from the military. So we are focusing as a country in the wrong way. And the real place we are focusing is because we are aligned with Trump. And all we are doing is supporting what the US foreign policy and Trump, we not getting help. What help are we getting in Trinidad and Tobago by supporting?
Well, the Prime Minister is seeking Donald Trump help in getting somebody to run the refinery. They're looking for people to help them with, as you just say, law enforcement. Commander Dindial, listen me. I watch this thing from all angles. And really and truly, for me, looking at it from all different angles, I think that Ms. Bissessa had an obsession with being in contact with Mr. Trump. And I think that it's like, all right, let me try an example to you. I always wanted to meet the guy from the UK who used to read the news on BBC. McDowell. Right? Pardon?
Yeah.
I always had an obsession to meet that man. I do all kind of things because I used to live in the UK to see if I could meet up with this man. And so it's something like that. Ms. Bissessa would have put she is actually playing from his playbook. Everything that we going through in Trinidad and Tobago, if you listen to the Americans, they will say to you, hey, you all are going through the same thing. Right? I think that she would have spoken to Mr. Romeo, and he would have said to her, hey, I like your speech. We invite you to come to the summit of the Americans and stuff like that. And you will meet with Mr. Trump. I think that is her dream. It doesn't matter about Trinidad and Tobago. She just puts in the thing about Trinidad to make it appear or to sound like, she has Trinidad and Tobago's best interest at heart, but really and truly no.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it's a personal interest. She has a personal interest, and she has a personal vendetta, and she has to feel that here's what I've lost the election so many times. I've come back and I'm strong, and she it is that that ego that you have inside to show everybody that self-validation. To show I have done it. Look where I am now, and I could speak with Donald Trump. But you're quite right that her attitude, her whole playbook that she's using seems to have mirrored the US's administration of how to run their campaign. And that campaign reflects Donald Trump. And she speaks like it, you know, and she's speaking off the cuff and she's saying things that are, well, you know, for us, it looks, it's not coherent. It's not logical. So I think you and I, we are making sense of it by saying she's following Donald Trump. So that's why she's being incoherent, you know, because he is lots of times. So, but we could be wrong. It could be that, you know, she's actually following that playbook, and Trump, the U.S. administration is manipulating Trinidad and Tobago. And I say that because if you see where we are, Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana is the only countries right now that are supporting the U.S.'s pivotal shift to where the Western dynamic has changed. So the U.S. has moved away from Europe, the Mediterranean, and the East, although they are looking at Iran. Iran is the only focus right now because of Israel, but they have moved away from that Persian and the Mediterranean and European axis. They are focusing back now, and Rubio and Trump said it, you know, that they are back to the Monroe Doctrine, they are back to the gunboat policy, and the Western Hemisphere is theirs, and they do not want to see China and Russia in the Western Hemisphere. Oh. And the more bases and places that they can have in their architecture. So it is called the architecture of their footprint that they put out that actually allows U.S. policy for resources in the area and for a U.S. policy to be expanded. And Trinidad and Tobago is one of those nodes. It's one of those nodes to have for making that happen.
Interesting. I hope the listeners are listening. I hope persons are sharing the live. I hope persons are getting, well, I'm seeing the numbers on the live going up, and I'm hoping that people are getting the relevant information. And tonight my guest is Commander Dindial, and he is here to share his concerns. You know, sometimes, you know, the last time he was on with my MP, Mr. Manning, you know, he has a way of putting on his political hat and taking it back off. But tonight he's talking from his heart as a concerned citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, where we are watching our country and we're seeing where it's going, and we're having a problem with where it's going, and we are trying our best as citizens and as talk show and to bring the alertness to people. Commander Dindial, you did 2 videos over this week alone that I wanted to share with the viewers, because I want them to hear your heart and hear how concerned you are about issues and matters that are happening in Trinidad and Tobago. So I'm going to play the first video. Alright, so Trinidad and Tobago, take a listen to the first video from Commander Dindial this evening.
Minister Sturge, you were doing pretty well maintaining your silence, instead of coming to give us this arrogant, ignorant response.
A right to know if there are foreign military officers in our country, in our soil.
You have a right to know?
Of course.
Okay. You have a right to know. Where you get that right?
So let me ask you a question that you can respond to. Remember the Stink and Gossip Carnival Fest that was held at the military compound in Sharamas? To be more specific, the heliport military base. If the promoters of that fete had to pay a fee for rental of the compound, where did that money go to? In whose account? Who collected the money? And if the money is used, how is to use that money? And if it was free, who gave permission for the compound to be used for that stink and dirty fete? And also, wouldn't it have been wiser to use the compound for the army to host the army fete? Why did the army have to pay a substantial fee to rent a compound in the Queen's Park Savannah to hold their fete? Make it make sense. The questions surrounding the radar and the presence of military personnel still on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago, and they are not law enforcement people, and asking what does it have to do with our sovereignty, I will deal with that in the next video. Minister Sturge, you were doing pretty well maintaining your silence instead of coming to give us this arrogant, ignorant response.
Right to know if there are foreign military officers in our country, in our soil?
You have a right to know?
Of course.
Okay. You have a right to know. Where you get that right?
So let me ask you a question that you can respond to. Remember the Stink and Dirty Carnival Fete that was held at a military compound in Chagaramas? To be more specific, the heliport military base? If the promoters of that fete had to pay a fee for rental of the compound, where did that money go to? In whose account? Who collected the money? And if the money is to be used, how and who is to use that money? And if it was free, who gave permission for the compound to be used for that Stink and Dirty Fete? And also, wouldn't it have been wiser to use the compound for the army to host the army fete? Why did the army have to pay a substantial fee to rent a compound in the Queen's Park Savannah to hold their fete? Make it make sense. The questions surrounding the radar and the presence of military personnel still on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago, and they are not law enforcement people, and asking what does it have to do with our sovereignty, I will deal with that in the next video.
All right. Commander Dindial? Hello? You hearing me?
Yes, I am.
All right. So tell me, what made you do that video?
Well, that video, first of all, the arrogance displayed by the Minister of Defense when a reporter asked him a question that he's required to answer. And my next video, if you play that, would allude to that and say, because you have been appointed as a member of parliament by the people, you represent the people, you're supposed to be accountable to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. More so it matters when it comes to our sovereignty and military personnel acting, exercising, or training in our sovereign territory and our territory, my soil. And you're telling me it's about national security. We as the people who own Trinidad and Tobago, we have a right to know what is going on there because we appointed you to be accountable to us, to let us know what the government is doing. Now, his arrogant way of explaining it or answering the question by saying that who gave you this right? He wants to codify the right. I don't know what he's talking about. Who gave us the right? We gave him the right to be accountable to us. Now, so I asked him a question then that he could have answered plainly, and where he is the minister responsible. And the area we were talking about was the heliport, which is a military compound. And as far as I understand, if you're having a fete in a military compound, somebody have to give you the authority to do it. And the authority had to come from the top. The minister in charge of defense will give instructions or tell somebody, here's what, go ahead and give the authority. Nobody can just do that on the compound, especially when it is a fete open to the public and exposing all your military assets outside there. So any fete, once the fete is having in Trinidad and Tobago, we know that there's some sort of remuneration, somebody pays a fee. So the question is then, if that is so, where the money went to, which account, who collect the money, and if the money have to be spent, who's spending the money and who giving the authorization to spend the money? You understand?
Yeah. I hear you.
And you saw what went on with that fete, right?
Yes.
You saw how big it was.
Yes.
It was a debacle. And then right out after that, you're hearing the Minister of Police saying he banning all fete. He has no authority on defense. So you don't even know he's the Minister of Police, but he figure he's the Minister of the Defense. You know, they make it convoluted. It don't make sense. Yeah. And you see the two of them trying to talk to each other. One one trying to advise the next one. I don't want the two geniuses trying to advise each other. So two geniuses advising each other, they became geniuses.
I hear you. Let's listen to the other video that you would have that you did concerning the issues.
So as promised, before we forget, let me address these two geniuses. One who still believes he's a police, and the next one, Captain Underpants, who is a criminal lawyer. So because you are a lawyer, you want to see everything codified. You want to ask us, the citizens, who give us the right to ask you questions and demand accountable answers. Well, the other guy, he can't do anything unless his instructions in writing. So ministers, let me remind you, it is the people who made you members of parliament and gave you the responsibility to be accountable to them. Because you were made ministers and given a lot of power in this cabinet of curiosity doesn't mean that you have the right to not be held accountable to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. You have the audacity to ask about sovereignty with foreign military troops on our soil doing exercises or training without the people of Trinidad and Tobago knowing? You are couching that under national security as training and exercises with military troops. All military exercises are governed by a memorandum of understanding, and they are not secret. So when it comes to foreign troops operating on our soil, the people of Trinidad and Tobago deserves to know whether it is operations, exercise, or training. Furthermore, your explanation that the military, US military, is here to help train our military or even the police to help fight crime is nonsense. The US military does not fight crime and is not a law enforcement body. If our problem is fighting crime, evidence gathering, bringing gangs to justice, solving murders, cold cases, kidnappings, the US military is not the place to look for it. There are other agencies in the US that you can bring to Trinidad and Tobago, and we will fully support that. Because we know the TTPS is failing and failing miserably and needs all the help they can get. But don't hide under charades that you have a military presence here and trying to fool us that this is law enforcement. We see through this nonsense. So I 1,000% agree with the police minister. He needs and his service all the help they can get. I will speak about the radar, the foreign US troops here in Tobago, and the General Ford leaving our waters in my next video and what it means for Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, we still waiting on that next video, eh? But I know that the situation with the Prime Minister and what happened in the CARICOM meeting would have taken up a lot, would have gotten your attention. So you would have written you would have written an editorial on it, and I want you to share that editorial with my listeners and them if you have it.
Hello?
Yes.
So, there are two editorials I did. Right. On which one you're talking specifically about the CARICOM?
Yes, the CARICOM one.
The CARICOM. So I did do an article on it, and if you're allowed me to read it.
Yes. It would be good for you to read it for the listeners so that when we open up the phone lines, they will have a proper context into which to respond and how to carry a conversation on it. Because I think that that article that you wrote is an excellent piece.
So I will start. So the article goes like this. I said, few things are more embarrassing than a leader who prioritizes personal vendettas over national interests. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessa's speech at the CARICOM opening ceremony was a crumbling edifice of shame and a stark reminder of our government's reckless abandonment of our regional relationships and sovereignty. By unilaterally pivoting away from CARICOM's foreign and security framework, she has weakened our collective voice and exposed our vulnerability. This is not leadership. It is a surrender to external pressures created by the Trump's administration. Her allegations about the Brent Thomas case against the former government are aimed at distracting from our own failures whilst in opposition. And that is why the Secretariat did not respond. They did not then and now see her as a credible leader. The people of Trinidad and Tobago also see through this charade. We demand accountability, not scapegoating and blame shifting, constantly using the excuse that it was a former administration's fault. Her actions have signaled to the world that Trinidad and Tobago is open to militarization and unilateralism, abandoning the principles of regional cooperation and stability. The consequences are far-reaching. Increased uncertainty, worsened trust, and a heightened risk of regional instability. We are not only talking about diplomacy, we are talking about the livelihoods of our people, our economy, our security, and our reputation are at stake. The Prime Minister's crawling at the feet of an orange massa leads to one thing: subservience. The blatant attack on Cuba's sovereignty is a betrayal of our nation's principles. We have always stood for non-interference and mutual respect. Persad-Bissessa's stance is a shameful departure from this tradition. Administration support of the unconstitutional removal of President Nicolas Maduro further highlights the hypocrisy in following the rule of international law and the democratic process, a process that she has paradoxically referred to in her speech. Her handling of Venezuelan migrants is a humanitarian crisis waiting to explode. And instead of addressing the root causes, she is using them as a political football, undermining the regional cooperation and free movement in the single market economy. Also, the 42% murder reduction claim in Trinidad and Tobago is a statistical trick. An SOE is not a policy. It is a temporary measure. Where is the comprehensive strategy for a lasting change? This speech will always be remembered as a sad day for Trinidad and Tobago's diplomacy. And I go on to say that we would not stand idly by while our nation's sovereignty is bartered away. We demand a return to the principle of leadership, regional cooperation, and a commitment to the well-being of our people. We say to the citizenry and our regional neighbors, we say we are not defined by this UNC government's failures. We are proud, resilient people committed to our regional family, and our national dignity will not be silenced, and we will not be deterred.
Wow.
And I had put on my political hat and I had said, we, the NTA, stands with CARICOM, with our regional partners, and with the thousands of citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. We will fight for a better future, one built on cooperation, stability, and true leadership. So that was my comment. Yeah.
All right. So, wow. And that's a mouthful. And if we just go from the beginning where you talked about, there are several things that you pointed out from the beginning, which would have brought the questioning of the intentions of this government, this new government, in the sense of their role and in their confidence in the CARICOM. Because I don't think that Ms. Bissessa understand what a zone of peace really means, because they, in their mind, are trying to put my mind in I try my best to see, and it's difficult to put my mind around their own, but in their mind, a zone of peace means that the the Caribbean is peaceful, where there is no drug trafficking, no gun trafficking, no. So, and they're saying that it is not like that because we are, as Trinidad and Tobago, we feel the effects of it, with the drugs and the gun smuggling, and we don't see that as a zone of peace. But I don't think that that is the context of the zone of peace with what the Caribbean mean, or the Caribbean stands by. Right? And let's be real too, Commander Dindial. In the last 10, 15 years ago, we heard persons in the law enforcement, in the customs and exile, and they say to us that guns are coming into this country through legal ports. We have a man going to face a jail time in America for bringing guns from America to Trinidad and Tobago in a boxing bag. We just call it the bag that people has used to do boxing.
Yeah, punching bag.
That wasn't through illegal means. That was through legal ports. And if you see the kind of guns that this man was bringing in. So first of all, while Ms. Bissessa is running out there trying to convince the Caribbean that, hey, guns are coming into our country and killing 600 and something people a year through Venezuela and illegal means, which is not true. We have seen it. We have seen how much. I remember was it in 2010, 11, 12, I think it was 12 or 13 around there, where we had cocaine leaving this country in jars of juice tins.
Yes, juice.
That's not an illegal port. That's not illegal thing. That is legal ports.
Correct.
So first of all, I think as a prime minister, I have to hold my system accountable for leakage. So that means that my system is allowing things to leak into our country through legal means. And you're not hearing this government talking about those legal ports that are allowing guns and drugs to come in.
Yeah, you're quite right, and she's trying to justify the zone of peace, and she's confusing it by saying that because Trinidad and Tobago has internal problems, bolstered or fueled by external actors, and most of the external actors, as you're quite right, you said, are coming from the U.S. Sorry. The U.S., all the guns that are coming in Trinidad and Tobago are manufactured in the U.S. And those are, and the data shows that.
Yes, and you remember when the former government wanted, I think they were joining up with somebody to sue or to do something to bring this awareness to the American government that we are fed up of your ammunition coming here. It's your ammunition that is destroying this land. Venezuela don't manufacture guns.
They don't.
Trinidadians don't manufacture guns.
So she's convoluting it, and she wants to use us as a justification that says that the CARICOM region, the Caribbean region, is not a zone of peace. Not recognizing, but she does recognize it, but she's couching it in that, when we always say she playing smart with shippiness.
Yes.
CARICOM, when we say a zone of peace, we're talking about militarization. We're talking about we don't want to use force to solve all our problems. We don't want to invade a territory. We don't want to invade Grenada. We don't want to invade Cuba. We don't want to invade Venezuela. We don't want this military buildup of force to solve our problems. We have always solved our problems diplomatically.
Thank you.
With reason and thinking. That is what we are about. We don't want this big stick policy. But she knows that. She knows that pretty well. Right. And that's why she's trying to say that we're always at war. Listen, the U.S. has been in war internally with the drug crime and drug trade. In fact, if you look at the Florida news, local news, almost every day there's some shooting and killing somewhere.
Wow.
In Florida local news, but you don't see that publicized. So she goes across the CARICOM now and telling CARICOM about our internal problems and saying that our internal problems does not make the whole CARICOM region a zone of peace. And that is why, since we are not a zone of peace, or Trinidad and Tobago has problems, it's okay for the U.S. to militarize the Caribbean and bring nuclear warships within the region. All these ships, when they're coming in here, just before the summit, they killed some St. Vincent fishermen.
Yes.
Extrajudicially, without any evidence. Again, so she wants to justify nonsense, and the CARICOM, we see through that. The CARICOMs, we are a zone of peace. We do not want our pristine waters to become contaminated with nuclear waste and waste from missiles and these things. So we also do not want to become a target for other nations that has seen the U.S. as belligerent. Because once you are partnered to the enemy, which is the U.S., of these other countries, you become a legal target. And I was saying that all along. Thank God that this debacle that happened right next door, 10 miles away from us, they went in and they invaded Venezuela and they abducted Maduro. Right? I would say that plainly. They went in, they invaded, just like how they invaded Grenada, they invaded Venezuela, abducted Maduro, and their force was so overwhelming that there was not a prolonged war. So, people say, where's the war you're talking about, Mr. Commander Dindial? Where's the war? That was an invasion, People are seeing that. What do you think it was? What was it that they went with? They invaded the people's territory, but they invaded with such overwhelming force that there weren't any fallouts. Well, they did give a helicopter pilot, I think, a medal for honor and all kind of thing like that got hit. I think you saw that, right?
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, so one of the choppers that were in the raid had was struck, and I think the pilot they gave him a medal. And honored him. That. So, but people talking about that was a mini war, a mini invasion. How many Cuban special forces got killed? Bodyguards, 60 something of them. How many other military personnel from the paramilitary regiment in Caracas got killed? You notice nobody talking about the people that got killed when they went and invaded the people's country.
No.
Yeah. But they say it wasn't a war. It was an invasion, but it was an invasion by overwhelming force. So they didn't retaliate. They couldn't get anything off. But that ain't finished yet, They have ways, they say Confucius, sometimes you have to retreat in order to survive.
Yes.
And live to fight the next day.
Yep.
And live to fight the next day. So these people that are not seeing it as an invasion and not seeing, because they're seeing the superficial thing, that happened right in our backyard. That happened here in Trinidad and Tobago, in our territory, the Caribbean. Barbados doesn't want to see a Gerald Ford off their coast, and that can be struck by a missile from the Russians or the Chinese if something breaks out. That's why we prefer to maintain neutrality. Let's be the paradise, our zone of peace. That's what we were always are. Why are we bringing ourselves into this conflict?
So then, Commander Dindial, then is it true to say that Ms. Bisessa is misrepresenting the facts on what is a zone of peace?
She knows exactly she is, but she is. She has already done that, and the Caribbean community has seen that.
Because I think what you just explained there, I believe that is what the Caribbean is standing on. That is the backbone of what they are standing on. But that is not what Miss Bissessa is saying. Miss Bissessa is saying that because we had 600 and something murders, because we have drugs coming in, because we have guns coming in, the Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago is not under no zone of peace.
Total misrepresentation. Total misrepresentation of what the Caribbean region being a zone of peace is. And then by her own logic, you would say that the entirety of the United States is at war internally. They're not a peaceful nation, but we know that. Huh?
Wow.
So that goes to my next article that I wrote about her upcoming meeting with President Trump.
Tell us. Let's hear your views on that.
So I said, Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessa's upcoming, and I want you to listen to this article carefully, because this article hits on a lot of things, geopolitical things that shows where we are in the region and how this is unfolding. So Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessa's upcoming meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump has sparked concern about Trinidad and Tobago's alignment with U.S. interests in the region. The UNC's administration has already hitched its wagon to the US's present foreign policy, a substantially new pivot towards the Western Hemisphere. Persad-Bissessa has expressed support for U.S. actions against alleged narco-traffickers in the Caribbean Sea and allowed U.S. military to set up a radar facility on Tobago, supposedly to track drug routes. These intentions by the U.S. are not purely altruistic, but also to counter Chinese and Russian influence in this hemisphere. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro, a supporter of Russian and Chinese influence, has already been removed by the military forces. Persad-Bissessa's stance is contradictory to CARICOM's position, and this is what we were talking about, of the Caribbean region being called a zone of peace, and has further undermined regional unity. Her government's actions are clearly aligning with U.S. interests, potentially compromising Trinidad and Tobago's sovereignty. And take particular note of that, compromising our sovereignty. The Prime Minister's meeting with Trump may focus on some energy issues, but the broader context suggests a complex web of security interests and motivations. As Trinidad and Tobago navigates this landscape, it's crucial to consider the implications of aligning with a superpower pursuing strategic interests in the region, especially after Trump's trade tariff defeat by the U.S. Congress. We must look at the name of the summit, the Shields of the Americas. And this will also give a clue as to what might be discussed together with Marco Rubio's comments on calling for closer security and energy cooperation. And I go on to say, I envisage the talks will surround the re-establishment of U.S. military bases in Trinidad and Tobago, together with new facilities in the Americas and Guyana. This comes as the U.S. shift their interest back to the Western Hemisphere, recognizing the gaps left since they withdrew from Panama. The U.S. current military hub for this region is Puerto Rico. However, it is used mainly for U.S. military missions in the Middle East, Europe, and the Mediterranean, and to a lesser extent, the Latin America. And we saw when the Gerald Ford had to be redirected from the Med to support the missions that were taking place in Venezuela. And presently, as we speak, battle groups deploy directly from Puerto Rico to the Mediterranean and the Persian Gulf. And we know that the Gerald Ford has been redirected back off in the Persian Gulf to help support the Iranian aspect that is going to take place sooner. So this means a new strategic hub has to be dedicated to Latin America under this Trump administration. So what you find happening right now is a shift and an explosion of new interests to a proliferation of new US bases and military access arrangements in this region. And I alluded to this in my talk earlier on, how this will feed into something called the theater architecture. And this theater architecture is something under the United States Southern Command, where these military facilities support US policy and ensure access to strategic resources. Now, you remember this, access to strategic resources. And one of the most strategic resources that the US wants is oil. And they always do this under the pretext of counter-narcotics operations and the war on drugs. Now, we have already seen that Trinidad and Tobago is integrated into the US forward operating locations. Now, that's something we call the FOLs. And that is because we have hosted the radar in Tobago. And this hosting of the radar in Tobago is monitoring the skies. So we are already, even if you don't want to, they don't want to acknowledge it, we are already part of the United States forward operating locations. Right? And a minimum staff of about 35 personnel is required to operate that radar. They didn't tell you, but when you look at the data and stats, it's about 35 personnel they need to operate that radar. But you have to have people on rotation. People can't work all the time. So if you work 2 shifts, you multiply that. That's 70 already, right? If you take 3 shifts, you understand? 30 and 30 says 100? 105, right? Personnel just to work on shift, to work on that. So the Prime Minister has openly said that she is willing to support the US in all its efforts. And so we can therefore logically assume that the footprint of the US personnel will only increase. And we are looking at bases being re-established to support further and ongoing US military operations in our sovereign territory. And I went on to give some facts, and it might be interesting for your readers, for your listeners to hear these facts. The US Department of Defense, now you could find all these facts, not you won't find it on Wikipedia. You have to go on the Department of Defense website, US Department of Defense website, and you go to base structures. Now, because the US Department of Defense, they have a DOGA section, which the Department of Defense and the Department of Government has to be accountable. So they have to give this information out to the public. Right? And not like us, how we can hide. So if you go on the US Department of Defense website, the base structures report said that the Department of Defense has property in 587 bases in 42 countries. The majority located, and I want you to listen to where the majority is located. The majority located in Germany, 181 sites. Japan, 122 sites. And South Korea, 83 sites. So just by that, you see the countries, Germany, Japan, and South Korea, the places that they have destroyed in the world wars, the places that they have taken control of, that's where they have the majority of their sites. South Korea, to look at North Korea, Germany, Japan. Now, and it's interesting so you see how the geopolitics work where they put their bases. But the Department of Defense also classifies 20 of the overseas sites and bases as large, 16 as medium, and 482 small, and 69 as other sites. Now, Pastor Google, I want you to, this is a quote that I took from the US military bases in the Caribbean, Central and Southern America by Colonel Ann White, who is also a US diplomat, was a US diplomat. And she worked with the Department of Defense. Sorry. Hear what she has to say, and I quote, These smaller and other sites are called lily pads and are generally in remote locations and are either secret or tacitly acknowledged to avoid protests that might lead to restrictions of their use. They usually have a smaller number of military personnel to maintain a low profile. The bases are hidden within host country bases or on the edge of civilian airports, unquote. What do you think about that?
Well, with that, Commander Dindial, you know, I'm watching. Some people are asking, just listening to what you are saying alone. People are asking, why aren't people outraged about this?
Well, I am. And here I said in my closing remarks, I said we can only pray that if these arrangements do materialize, that they are done with a broad consultation and agreement of the citizens. Because remember, we're in a democracy. Without these consultations and arrangements, it will be an assumption of democratic control. We would be sold out and end up like Guantanamo Bay. I hope people understand Guantanamo Bay is still a U.S. base in Cuba at the heart of the Contras affairs.
Wow.
The Contras. So they have a lease, lifetime lease on the base, so they can't get them out. And you know what is interesting about Guantanamo Bay? You know they still have prisoners there that have been held under terrorism that have never been tried or seen a court of law. We forgot about that, you know. Remember, we forgot about that under the Biden, the Obama regime. And the war in Iraq.
Yes.
So there are still prisoners there living out their life sentence. They have never seen a court of law. Imagine that. And U.S. military installations like those things are generally characterized by a lack of transparency and accountability. And and I further went on to say something this present administration appears to be fondly attracted to, and unilateralism decision making. Because they seem to be making decisions, whatever it is, on their own, without taking into consultation the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Why you think so, Commander Dindial? Why you think that they feel so confident in doing something like that?
Well, they have a majority right now, and most of the things they can pass in the parliament without having to, unless it's unconstitutional, on having to go to that 3/5 majority. So that gives them a certain amount of, I think they believe they believe that they can do what they want and get away with it, because there's no accountability. They can say what they want to say, and they will pass it anyhow. Because if you only have 9 opposition senators, 9 opposition members of parliament, when you take tough stuff to the lower house and you don't need a constitutional majority, a 3/5 majority, you could say what you want. Holding, the ayes have it. The ayes always have it. So I think that is what they're rallying on right now. The ayes have it, and they have a support base that do not use a discriminating mind. They don't really cipher things out and think about it logically for the good of Trinidad and Tobago. I honestly believe that, you know, we have been segregated into this cult base. So people are just following cult. They're not really actually making decisions based on truth and
best interest of Trinidad and Tobago.
It's a cult based on cult decision. But hopefully, and I would say this, hopefully, we only have 3 more years, but three more years and a little bit of this, and people will see the brighter side of it, and we wouldn't reach to that stage where, remember, we started this the conversation where the people are riot yet, and we actually have to riot. We can settle this all democratically and peacefully, where the government does the right thing. Because barring that, the next time is at the next election. Next time is at the next election, and by then it might be too late.
This is frightening. This is frightening. Well, I want to open up the phone lines, Commander Dindial. Let's get the people in early and hear what they have to say, or hear what their views on issues that we have brought forth to them this evening on the program. So we're taking your calls on 464-7003, 464-7003, 464-7003. We're taking your calls. What is your view on issues that were brought up, things that we are discussing? So we are looking at statements made by our Prime Minister. Commander Dindial would have written a editorial on it, and he would have shared his views on it. We would have looked at the situation where marijuana missing in a police station, and the Commander Dindial says it well. Tell them the joke, Commander Dindial. If a question was asked to the minister, what you will say?
Finishing night with that joke. We're finishing night with that joke.
Hey, yeah, Commander Dindial, it be a nice one day, you know.
I'm going to get up your brown paper back to blowing it too.
Yeah, you had to get brown paper back to blowing it, and you had to tell them, you had to hit them it real nice. Hey, here now, boy. We really living in a you know this young man sang a song, Helan Francis, Fool's Paradise.
Yes.
Sometimes we wonder if we're living in a fool's paradise, because it's frightening at times, boy, when you think about the state of our country and where it's going and why it's going the way it's going. It's just sad. It's really sad. And I think it's time that people stop being silent, and nobody's saying that you have to riot, you know, but you have to speak out.
Well, yeah. At some point in time, you know, I've maintained with my colleagues and other individuals that Trinidad and Tobago is quite a young nation. And we got our independence without fighting for it. So, you know, sometimes when you get something, your parents are telling you, when you get it too easy, you don't really appreciate it.
Let's take this caller. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Caller. Caller, I'm not hearing you, know. Caller. Hello, good evening, caller.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Good evening.
Right, I have 3 small questions. One for you, one for Colonel Dindial, is his name?
Commander Dindial, yes.
Commander Dindial. And one for Fali in the afternoon. Hoping somebody will let him know about this question if he's still, if he's still in the CARICOM set. Right, number 1 is Trinidad and Tobago has always been promoted as a destination of green and serene territory. Will that still be the case after the U.S. military settles down in this country? with all the nuclear assets? That is one. The second one is, can some journalists, whether it's you, Pastor, yeah, yeah, I get a little lovely. Pastor Google, could some journalists ask any one of the ministers, because I know they can't catch the Prime Minister, if they know what a zone of peace really, what it means to them, or what it means to this country? That is two. And the last question is, if there is a radiation fallout to a radioactive accident with one of these submarines or with some collision with these ships that are riding up and down the Caribbean Sea, could there be some detriment posed to people visiting the beaches? Because that is all we have, beaches, and all these ships coming down fitted with radioactive machinery. I mean, could the colonel tell me if we'll have a problem there with if there is some accident there, if people will still be able to bathe on the beach? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
So let me go first. First question, easy, simple to answer. We don't have to wait for the US to do anything or bring anything on. The Prime Minister, the current Prime Minister, has already done the bad deed by selling Trinidad and Tobago as a bad destination at CARICOM with her speech. She went to CARICOM and said Trinidad and Tobago has 600 and something murders and we had not a zone of peace and Trinidad and Tobago is the worst thing. And she called Trinidad and Tobago a what? A dump.
A lawless dump.
Yeah, that hurt me to my core when you call my country that, and you are the Prime Minister. So the damage has already been done. The US don't have to do anything against it. So you could give the Prime Minister all the kudos for no tourists wanted to come here because she has done that all on her own. With respect to nuclear waste or nuclear powered vessels maneuvering or passing through the Caribbean Sea and the Caribbean Basin in our region, there is a treaty with the United Nations about those things, and that is why the CARICOM itself, and we forgot to mention that is why the CARICOM itself, when we declare ourselves a zone of peace, those are some of the things that you exclude from passing within your territory. So container ships carrying nuclear waste, to go to anywhere, they have to declare it, and you don't want them pass within your region. They have to stay out of it, because if there is a disaster at sea or something happens, you can have waste and radiation coming up on your pristine shores and all those kinds of things. So yes, you're quite correct with that aspect, and that is why another one of the major important pillars is for the Caribbean region to maintain a zone of peace. And then furthermore, you have military vessels which are nuclear powered. You don't want them in your region. You don't want those nuclear military vessels powered in your region. And you don't even want nuclear or military vessels amassing in your region where there's a potential for a disaster, or they can be a potential target or hit by a rogue nation or stuff like that. So that's why we want Trinidad, we want the Caribbean and the CARICOM region as a whole to remain a zone of peace. Pastor Google, I don't know if you will get the journalist that actually had questions.
I will tell one of my journalist friends to do so. Let's take this caller.
So I hope.
Hello, good evening.
Pastor Google, good afternoon.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Dindial, good afternoon, Mr. Dindial.
Yes, good evening.
Mr. Dindial, I got a question. I don't know if you can answer this question, but the way this Prime Minister is crying on, okay, do we know, or is it possible? No, I shouldn't say that. We know she are making deals behind the citizens' back, because she's not upfront with the citizen and letting us know what is being said. She's very secretive. But my question is, if this Prime Minister go ahead and make deals with the US and the next Prime Minister come into power, Couldn't that be erased? Or how you go about doing this? Because we don't know this woman is doing all kind of stuff behind our back. She's not informing the public. I'm trying to understand what's going on here and what address do we have in the event she's out of power. Can we reverse what she does? Is it possible?
Okay, so let me see if I can answer that to you in the basis of law. So I'm not a lawyer, but I understand how bilateral agreements and memorandums of understanding work. But a bilateral agreement with another state, a foreign party, is just that. It's a bilateral agreement. It's an agreement that you have made with a foreign party in order to do certain things and reciprocity. So you have those agreements bilaterally. Now, it's not in law if you don't bring it into your law books, right? So things that are brought into law and made is like things that have been ratified with the UN and stuff that you have actually brought to Parliament and brought it into your local framework. So you have made it law and statute. So nothing stops you as a sovereign country from breaking a bilateral agreement. However, there will be fallouts or repercussions. So you have contractual agreements and you have bilateral agreements. So contractual agreements, if there are certain things that you are contractually obligated to do, and you decide to break it, in the jurisdiction of where the contract lays, there will be certain clauses to give remedies if you have broken those contracts. But nothing stops you as a sovereign nation from breaking a bilateral agreement, because you as a sovereign territory do not have to put yourself under the rule of another government that puts you in a position that you are less resourced.
Right.
Thanks for that clarification. And another thing, I'll be very brief. Ms. Kamala Prasad Bissessar is just going all out on a limb and talking about dictator. Cuba has been helping the islands for years upon years upon years. Why she wants to turn her back now on his people? Why she want to do this? Because of someone, she wants to be some puppet or something like that. And this is what's happening here. And the citizen of Trinidad and Tobago is not happy with Ms. Kamala Prasad Bissessar. We're not happy.
But they're not saying it loud enough.
Huh?
The citizens not saying it loud enough.
I don't know, man. People need to wake up, man. People need to wake up, man. You just can't sit there and take everything this woman is doing. And another thing, what's about the agreement she's making behind the citizens' back? Is it going to be like a thief? Is it going to hit us like a thief in the night? You don't want to hold any press conference. You go in and you want to tell Miss Motley whatever it is about, you write a letter and nobody answer you. You write in Trinidad. How many press conferences you hold? When people asking you questions, you keep ducking. I don't know, man. It's just disgusting. This woman is disgusting. She needs to get out. She needs to go. We need someone who is strong, who could stand up for the country. She is weak and she's a puppet. Thank you.
All right. I just wanted to bring people's attention and news coming to hand that there is an accident. Well, a car that is on fire by the Nagar, the Wali Nagar area. There's a car that is on fire there. I just wanted to show the viewers and them with Mr. Dindial while we are on. So while you all are on, there is a car that is on fire on the southbound lane. All right, and news coming to hand. We don't know if there are any fatalities just yet, but we're asking people, please take your time on the nation's roads. Please take your time on the nation roads. And yes, there is a car that is on fire on the southbound lane. So I'm just going to show them it, Commander Dindial, and then I have a clip where the Prime Minister of Barbados is responding to the kidnapping claims. You know? So those of you who are watching the live, I'm showing you the fire now. The car that is on fire. It looked like a Mazda. Is it? It looked like those Mazda 3. Right? Is on fire. Right below the flyover by the Wali Nagar. So if you are coming from Port of Spain and you're in traffic and you're looking at the program on your car, yep, that is the reason why there is traffic on the highway as we speak. We pray God that no one is injured in that situation there. So Commander Dindial, I just got a clip from CBC in Barbados where the Prime Minister of Barbados, Miss Motley, will have responded to claims made by Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister. You want to hear it?
Yes, please. I'm sure your audience would like to hear it.
Yeah, and if you didn't want to hear it, I want to hear it. Let's take a listen to what Mia Motley had to say.
To describe it as a kidnapping is a most unfortunate term because arrest warrants were presented by the Trinidad police to the Barbados police. As to what happened, we don't know because we don't get involved in operation matters. So as it transpired, we knew nothing about it. It is only when this matter became a public issue that we then had to launch an investigation into what transpired. And it was clear that the Trinidad and Tobago police, as has been the practice for decades in this region, would have supplied an arrest warrant which the Barbados police would have acted upon. We understood at the time, and we said, our Attorney General said at the time, that the formal process of extradition, which we do extra-regionally with other countries, has not and was not practiced in the region among ourselves by any country in the region. And therefore, to that extent, we acknowledge that we need to be able to change how we operate. That is why the CARICOM arrest warrant is being pursued. That is why legislation has to be passed in every CARICOM country to be able to facilitate that CARICOM arrest warrant. But to describe it as kidnapping or to suggest that any member of cabinet or any member of the permanent secretary class or government of Barbados is involved in kidnapping is a scurrilous lie and defamatory in the extreme. We all know what transpired, and it is regrettable that it happened. We also have, for example, as I said, the ministerial statements to Parliament of both our former Attorney General in 2023 and the former Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago.
Commander Dindial?
Yeah, it was breaking up, so I didn't hear it pretty well.
Okay.
But I did. Yeah, but I wonder if your listeners heard it.
I can ask them to comment on it, but I think basically what you said is what Mia Motley said. You know, she said that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service came over to the Barbados with a warrant for his arrest, which would have come from the police, from somebody from the in charge in Trinidad and Tobago in the police service. It wasn't a cabinet note or a cabinet decision that they came with a cabinet letter saying that on the cabinet, on behalf of the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago, we come for this man to arrest this man.
But we were saying that earlier on.
Yes.
Remember we mentioned and I was elaborating, and I heard she was talking about the remember we talked about the arrest warrant?
Yes.
CARICOM arrest warrant, and
yes.
That's why it has to be in law.
Yes,
so
that's what she talked about just now.
So and I was telling you that Barbados had kidnapped nobody. How the CARICOM?
Some people on the live are saying yes, we heard it. All right. Okay. So if you heard it good, just give a thumbs up on the live. Let me know if you heard it properly, and if you want to call in and tell me that you heard it also, we'll appreciate it. But yeah, Commander Dindial, the Prime Minister of Barbados would have clear. And the thing about it is how she had a problem with the statement kidnap.
Yes.
That is the problem that the Prime Minister Barbados have a problem with. Nobody kidnap nobody. You know this, and the bare fact that you're saying kidnap means that that's against the law.
Well, the people who kidnap is the Trinidadians kidnap the Trinidadians. Them's the one who do the kidnapping.
People are saying very clear on TV. Yes, we heard it. All right, some people are sending messages and saying that they heard it very clear on the television. Right. So some people heard it very well. I would send it to you though, Commander Dindial, so that you would hear also what was said by just for you to know that what you said, what you're seeing on the platform tonight is basically the same thing that Mayor Motley was saying, Prime Minister Motley, and everybody was waiting patiently to hear what the Prime Minister of Barbados have to say. To be quite honest with you, a lot of persons was just wait. People thought that she would have waited to but she's so diplomatic. She knows when to do what.
Of course, she reads the room.
Yeah. Hello, good evening.
Good afternoon, Pastor.
Good evening. Good afternoon
to Commander Dindial.
Did you hear the clip?
Second?
Did you hear the clip?
Yes, I did. I heard everything.
How did it come across?
Loud and clear. We heard everything.
All right. Good.
Yeah, well, good night, Commander Dindial. I had known Commander Dindial a while back since I think he was when I had first known him. He was a sub-lieutenant, but we can't say what year that was because that would give we age.
Oh gosh.
We can't say what year that was. Anyhow, that being said.
Commander Dindial, you hearing this man?
I hear him, but he gets a little muffled in between.
All right.
I saw him. I said, I know you a while back. I think when I first met you, you were a sub-lieutenant, but I can't tell you. I can't say what year that was because that'll give you age. So can't say that what year that was.
Okay.
You hear better now?
Okay. yeah.
Yeah, that'll give you age. Anyhow, that being said, this lady, I mean, this lady never really seems to amaze me. I mean, I try to understand. Would we be in years to come? Would we still see red and black, or would we be hosting Star and Stripes?
I don't know if you will be seeing red, white, and black, you know, but
would we be hosting Star and Stripes? Because basically you just handle everything the American wants. You just say yes. And I remember that Dr. Eric Williams, he launched a campaign to get the Americans out of the country. Now you're bringing them back in the country.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
He walked from Shagavan to the postage. He launched a campaign in the 60s to get the Americans out of the country. Now you're bringing them back in the country. And why you can't tell the citizens, the civilians, the taxpayers, why the Americans here?
Why he must tell you? Because it's a crime fighting initiative, and if he tell you what is a crime fighting initiative, if he tell the criminals and then what are the crime fighting initiatives, the criminal and they will know how to plan for it.
Listen to right.
I'm just telling you what you see.
Listen to them.
And I will debunk that military don't fight crime.
The American military don't fight crime. Can an American Marine or soldier arrest or apprehend anybody in this situation? They can't.
They can't.
They can't do it in their own country. For us from here. So I don't know if these two jokers feel everybody in stand at 4 or stand at 3 and we'll just take what they say. Because I mean, you trying to tell me these two jokers, Minister of Defense and Minister of Homeland Security. That is best they can call the really? Law enforcement? Seriously? So
they know that is what Trinidadians want to hear.
You ever, let me real. I have never seen a U.S. Marine or a U.S. soldier moving around with handcuffs. I sure the commander could agree with me. I have never seen a U.S. Marine or a soldier moving around with handcuffs.
But what I can tell you, you have U.S. Marines and you have your Marines forces, DEA agents that be walking around Trinidad and Tobago with a firearm in their waist, a concealed firearm. And if they take that firearm off and they discharge it, and if someone dies at that firearm, they don't fall under the jurisdiction of Trinidad and Tobago law.
No,
they just pack up and go back to the US. Within 24 to 48 hours, that individual will be sent back stateside, and we'll never see he or she again. Correct. They don't fall under our jurisdiction.
So this is a dangerous thing, and we the taxpayers, the civilians, have to understand, have to know why they're here. And what do you here? You can't tell me.
You will have to know nothing. No, nothing.
What? There must be, now, when there was in operation, there was balling transparency. Now the government, what transparency?
They can't give you any transparency, because if we give you transparency, then we'll sell out our crime secret.
What crime secret?
That's the secret. The secret is that it's a secret. We have no secret. We have nothing. So we have to keep it a secret.
Because this Zozo bill was never part of their crime plan.
Never.
When they went around,
one fella happened to land Jamaica and see, that one here, all right, and that one happened.
But the thing about it is, when they were going around doing their crime plan, and they were asking citizens for suggestions, and they had this guy from Shogunas, forget his name now. He was in charge of the Shogunas.
Shohat. We don't talk about Shohat.
Johnny Abraham.
Right. When Mr. Johnny Abraham was coming up to the microphone, and when he landed himself on the platform, and when they were talking crime plan, this was never Johnny Abraham's crime plan.
No.
How all of a sudden now Zozo bill is a part of our crime plan?
Yeah. What actually happened with Johnny Abraham, I know a lot of people missed. Johnny Abraham actually admitted extrajudicial killings on the platform.
You know what? I just want to know. This is what I want to know. I want to know, what is this government crime plan?
Just like me and everybody else, if they have one.
Thank you very much, caller.
All right.
Because you can't tell me you had 10 years. You say how the government do nothing for 10 years. Right? So you had 10 years to sit down and plan how you're going to deal with crime. You came in on a wave of a SOE. You said, here what? We're going to keep that SOE. All right? Trinidadians said, okay, you're going to keep the SOE. All right? We understand? Cool. The SOE expired. You come now and you're telling us about Zozo. What's Zozo? What's Zozo? You alone want to be in charge of the Zozo. And that's the problem, Commander Dindial. The problem that we have, that the independent senators and others have with the Zozo bill is several things. One of them is, why so a crime is committed in Pleasantville, where I live. The police, the police station that is in charge of Pleasantville, which will be Monrepo, call and tell the commissioner, hey, a murder just take place in Pleasantville. The commissioner then takes up his phone and call the prime minister and say, here what, a murder just take place in Pleasantville. Could you declare there as a Zozo? She writes to the president just then declares Pleasantville is under an SOE, curfew, and what. So wait now. All right. When is this going to end? Where's the sunset clause to this? Because you alone have the rights to call a Zozo wherever. You don't have a what they will call it, a committee or it's just you don't have persons who you are accountable to. If you get up a morning and the bunk said and they say, all right, Shogunas going out there SOE, nobody can question you. That making sense? But okay, you're upset that they all right, you don't want to do that. But then the other question is, when is this coming to an end? Is there a sunset clause? You don't want to put a sunset clause to it. So we must be on that Zozo for the next 4 years?
Total madness. So yes, they were couching the Zozo and changing it up, but we recognize that a Zozo is a geographical state of emergency.
Yes.
So it's a mini state of emergency that you are localized. But because a state of emergency, you have to have 3/5 majority of parliament in order to call a state of emergency and extend it. They wanted that unilateral decision-making process and that power to reside in one person's hand, which
is the Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister. And that can't be, because there's no accountability there. There's no mechanism to bring that back, because you could just get up any day, as you were saying, and declare this area state of emergency. And the criteria for calling a places of the criteria for calling a place as a zone of special operations were not clearly defined. They were not told, because it was arbitrary. It was, if things were unruly. So if things are unruly, when you say so if people decide to protest because they didn't like against the government, you would use that to call a zone of special operations. So it was quite arbitrary in those aspects, giving one person that amount of power, and also the arbitrariness of calling the zones wherever you wanted. But that doesn't fix the problem. A Zozo doesn't fix the problem. The Zozo, which is, as we're saying, is a localized state of emergency, doesn't solve the problems within the police service of policing, of finding crime, of detection, of solving murders, of solving robberies, car theft. We always finding drugs, but we don't catch nobody. Look, all that drugs they catch, they find it. They catch anybody?
No,
anybody to help?
No, because you see, they don't want them to get mosquito bite and dengue. Let's take this caller. Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Pastor.
You're sounding very soft.
Good night, Pastor.
We'll try and work with that.
Yes, then the restaurant there. I don't know if you watch the pic where Caricom users was having a picture that the Caricom teacher took pictures, but I noticed that a certain Prime Minister is missing in the picture. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, but she came home because she said she have cabinet meeting today, and she had I think something else.
It can remind me of something of a song on Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the others. Ever hear that song, Pastor Google?
Yes, sir.
That song from Sesame Street. One of those things is not like the others, but yet they not be safe. That would remind me of something missing. It's not the same. You have a good night, Pastor Google.
All right, thank you very much. So again, if you are making your way to San Fernando from Port of Spain, there is a car on fire. So if you're locked in traffic, you should. Well, that's the reason why, because a car caught on fire right by the Diwali Nagar flyover. Yep, a car caught on fire. So we have a few more minutes left. With Commander Dindial, and we know we just enjoy having you on, Commander Dindial. We really
Every time I finish with you, you just get visited by the cyber unit.
You know that is true.
So, now, here it is. Interestingly enough, the Prime Minister left early. And her excuse was, let's say her excuse, her reason was that she has cabinet tomorrow in the morning. But she left in the midst of one of the most important sessions that the CARICOM ministers have said was to take place today, which is the session of the retreat where all the heads get together and they are able to speak and discuss their problems or the issues that they have behind closed doors without the lights and the plenary sessions and speak freely. And that's one of the better team building sessions in order to work out differences and problems. I didn't know about and this is with our regional partners, but you have to come home because cabinet is very important. So I'll look in to see what cabinet going to discuss tomorrow that needed her to leave that session.
I hope. Anywho, as I say, anywho, I don't know now. Commander Dindial, some people keep saying that we have a OJT government and OJT ministers and stuff like that. But really, every time you watch what's going on,
I disagree with that statement. I have said it is a cabinet of curiosities and a cabinet of you have to have some allegation or charge on your head in order to be part of that. You don't know how to break the law. So I don't think they're OJT. I think them well know how to break the law. They're well versed. Just the criteria to be in that cabinet different.
Wow.
I don't know if you all agree with me.
You are thinking about it. You may just be right, because we have a man on bail, and he's the minister of housing, and he on bail. We have a next man who have questions to answer with live sport. We have a next man right now. The Privy Council send back down a ruling telling him, hey. Hey, you pay $10,000 for defamation. No. Who get that ruling? Go back and check that ruling over again. That ruling don't make no sense.
And you have a man who in charge of all of them that get off on a technicality.
Oh yes. And on top of that, we have a man who say he get money because he's our only child. We serious? Come on,
I tell you, a cabinet of curiosities. That's the only way I could tell you. That's a Netflix show. A Guillermo Toro Netflix show. I had to be a cabinet of curiosities.
A next man who known for bringing out false, qualifications.
Well, all these university degree mills, or the doctor this and doctor that.
That when you check it out, they non-existent. We serious, boy? We serious? My father telling me last night, a question was asked to my father last night, right? About how do you become a senior counsel lawyer? How? What's the qualifications of being senior counsel? And my dad would have read out a raffle sheet of how you become a senior counsel lawyer. The next question I was asked to my father was, so wait that, our prime minister get a token? Because all those things that are being called out there as the qualifications to be a senior counsel, Miss Bisasa don't have any of those. The next thing somebody's reminding me of is the EMBD matter.
Oh yes, that's another big one that is there.
Come on, the Privy Council telling you go on to the Privy Council to tell the Privy Council to throw the case. The Privy Council said, no, you have answers you have questions to answer. Cartel-like behavior over how much millions of dollars? No, you have questions to answer.
When you go and you dive deeper into what is taking place into all the ministries themselves and the reshuffling contract workers and who are moving from here and who they're removing from places and bringing other people. It is glaring, and you're hearing some of the PSs and them talking about it. I was shocked, and it put me in a state of bewilderment when I was looking at the Joint Select Committee where we had the president chairing with the pharmaceutical board, and you see how he was speaking to people.
Yeah.
Did you see how?
Yeah, and then now you have the man going and face a court matter. The man might just be sued by the former Minister of Health for calling his name.
I was wondering what was taking place there. But you see, they're ruling by fear. And if you don't do this, you will be ostracized and we will take away your spoon from you. We will not be fed. And everybody, it seems, right now, want to feed at the trough.
Yeah. It's sad, Yeah, it's sad. This is what we have reached to as a country, and this is what we have accepted as for governance.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
nobody's
sad.
standing up for the right thing anymore.
Yeah, nobody's standing
up. Because everybody's up. And we shrug it off, and we say it every day where we go, no matter you by the gas station. Hey, this is a eat a food country. I seen one myself. I had looked at eat a food. There's no good governance. And when they say, that's the thing is, when they talk, when the feeding bowl almost empty, all the big pigs pushing first,
How do we fix it, Commander Dindial?
Well, we know we have a cycle every 5 years, right? But in order for that cycle to change, education is important, and the things that we are doing right now, educating the people, bringing the issues to the forefront so that they understand what the issues are, understand how it affects them, and understand how important their vote is. And I've said it before, when you look at the divide in Trinidad and Tobago, it's nearly half by half. However, you still have, well, when I say not half by half, 1/3 by 1/3, and then you have a third that does not vote. You have 400,000 people that don't vote, just don't vote for. And the reason when you do a little data tracking is because they feel disenfranchised. They feel that it doesn't matter whether they go that Trinidad and Tobago is a two-party country, and whether you go red or you go yellow, it doesn't matter. They feel as they're wasting their vote, so they just don't vote. So it's getting that mindset, that 400 people, let them understand how important it is, because the decisions made by any party, regardless, and I'm trying to be apolitical here, the decision made by any party affects every individual in Trinidad and Tobago. And at the end of the day, we are citizens and we are Trinbagonians. This is about country. It's not about how they say party first. It can't be that. And when you start by saying party first, you're wrong already. You're wrong already.
Wow. Well, Commander Dindial, I always like to thank you, and I always like to have you on. And I know that things are going to be developing as the year goes by and the weeks go by, and I just want to thank you for making yourself available, for being on the platform tonight. The discussion was very healthy and fruitful. I know a lot of persons would have really enjoyed it. And I pray that you would continue to make yourself available to us.
Of course, I appreciate being called, and I like being on your program. I mean, the discussion always is intellectual, and we bring out a lot of things for people to think about.
So you ever met anybody telling you, "Hey, I hear you on Pastor Google show"?
Yes, and I so let me tell you this one, and people as I said, here's what, as a PNM now, right? As a PNM, So I a PNM, that is one. The next thing is that I is not an Indian. I hate, and I will tell you, I'm not an Indian, and I there's no political way of saying this. I hate coolie people. Just listen, the amount of things I get, but it don't matter to me. I speaking the truth.
Yeah.
I'm not out there for anything. I just had a laugh.
Wow.
I just have
wow. So you do meet people from time to time who tell you that they hear you on the platform.
Oh yes, and other individuals from, you see, like that gentleman who's saying, from Coast Guard, that other people. In fact, I think one night a gentleman from the defense was called also, and they said after he called me, he said it was me who called you, and I said, oh okay, all right, they're on the program, so they listen to the program. A lot of people listen to the program.
Right, at least you know that the platform has that traction, and we do have a lot of persons. Commander Dindial, I'll tell you straight up. At the end of the like every 28 days, YouTube would send me a readout, and they said to me that the platform have a traction of close to 100,000 persons watching for over a 28 days day span.
Right, good. At least we get the word out there, let people know what's going on.
Yeah.
And you see, we are talking the truth. We're talking anything. That's the most important thing. We're speaking the truth.
Yeah.
And we're getting people away.
That's it.
So before we switch off, and let me leave you with this. Remember, I tell you, the Minister of Police will tell you if a block of marijuana is replaced by a block of wood, and both of them is a block.
Thank you very much, Commander Dindial. Thank you very, very much for being on Constructive Talk this evening.
No problem.
All right, man.
Yes, thank you. You all have a pleasant night.
Same to you.
Good night.
All right.
As we drift away from another general election, creating more stale news for we history books to mention. After so many lies, bacchanal and commerce in this paradigm, I realize it's this kind of thing that my people like. So let's forget we Boko Reefs, cause my people like to talk about tea, while Port of Spain is a flooding show. I say glorify Jack in a extempo. We clearing drugs like the FDA, but the real issue is what Munilal say. Oh God, I'm proud of my T&T. We focus on real issues in this country, cause this land we love, but we just love without peace. Lord, this silence sweet, like something to eat. We call it paradise, so God, this place nice. As we move on to higher heights, standing firm in global spotlight, as my fool's paradise. Many governments go and many governments stay. One thing doesn't change, is our people remain the same. We stand up in glee and say we love this democracy, but after so many years, religion and race predicts your party. So let's not vote on who really cares. I say vote on who has your type of hair. Cock up your foot and drink something and watch the war between Rasta and Muslim. They say them Chinese eating anything that pass, but still my red house full of so much jack grass. So God, this land is a special place. We know how to deal with religion and a race. Living in love and love and love, but we the love without peace. Lord, the silence sweet, like something to eat. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We call it paradise. So God, this place nice, a multicultural land for the wise. That I would always say with pride is my fool's paradise. So come where violence don't cease and prison bars always have grease. A place where corruption so high you can't blame it on coke nor weed. Come where lies are the truth and no one here is responsible for youths. I'd like to blame the government, but I can't blame them without blaming you. So spare the rod and give him shooting toys, and one day we'll say he was a good boy. Give her iPhone, tablet and Blackberry, so her new alias could be sexy darky. Some charity truly begins at home, but here charity is how we make dough. This is how my people contribute, preparing the future for our youths. Living in love, 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 but we just love without peace. Lord, the silence sweet, like something to eat. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We call it paradise. So God, this place nice, as we move on to higher heights, standing firm in global spotlight as my fool's paradise. You may not understand me or see that I truly love my country, full of so much culture, resources, and a people that loves to party. See, most of us think about self and won't admit that she needs help. So it's time to admit she's sick or she'll never come back to health. So spend your money, my friend, and have fun, but don't forget your land is in recession. We keep talking about fixing crime, but without drastic measures, we wasting with time. Time to stop being so ignorant. Move your problems from the back to the front. You see, this is the only way. If we wanna fix tomorrow, we must fix today. Living in love, 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 but we just love without peace. Lord, your silence sweet, like something to eat. Whoa, whoa, whoa. We call it paradise. So God, this place nice, moving away from all that vice and doing what we need to survive in this fool's paradise. La da da, la da da.
Information provided by the speakers and or presenter on Facebook and YouTube is for general informational purposes only. All information is provided in good faith. However, Constructive Talk makes no representation or warranty of any kind, express or implied, regarding the accuracy, adequacy, validity, reliability, availability, or completeness of this information.